If you're considering moving to northeastern Florida, you've probably taken a look at St. Augustine, you've probably taken a look at a majority of St. Johns County, but what I want to do in today's video is show you that there are actually two distinct lifestyles that come with living in St. Augustine and living in St. Johns County, and in reality they are completely different. In this video we're going to talk about the different lifestyles that live in St. Augustine Beach than it is to live in northern St. Johns County, where Silverleaf is and Nocatee is, and master plan communities are all over the place. They're completely different in terms of their lifestyle, the cost of living, and also the vibe of just the general community. And my goal by the end of this video is for you to have a good idea which area is going to be best for you, whether it's going to be the vibrant downtown lifestyle, the beach lifestyle that you may be looking for, or maybe you're looking for more of that suburban sprawl just outside of that area where you have access to it, but you're close, not too close. Now first, before we start, let's outline some of the parameters that I use to kind of define the areas of St. Augustine and St. Johns County. Now of course, St. Augustine is in St. Johns County, but I've lived here the majority of my life, and the people that live around St. Augustine, the lifestyle there, don't really consider the northern part of St. Johns County to be St. Augustine, even though if you look it up on United States Postal Service, you look it up on the property appraiser, the address is going to say St. Augustine. But in reality, they are two distinct, completely different places, and we're going to cover all of that in this video today. So what I did is I took a look at the zip codes that I consider to be true and blue St. Augustine, right? Where I grew up as a kid, what is essentially surrounding the downtown area. We're looking at zip code 32080, which is going to be Anastasia Island. We're also taking a look at 32084, which is going to be like the northern part of St. Augustine, and then 32086, which is going to pretty much be the southern part of St. Augustine, all surrounding that area around Anastasia Island, downtown St. Augustine, and the beaches. Then of course we have St. Johns County, and what I defined as St. Johns County was going to be the zip codes of 32092, 32095, and 32259. Now, of course, there's a ton of other zip codes in St. Johns County. I could have pulled a whole bunch of them, but what I'm doing in this video is making a point between the two distinct different lifestyles here in St. Johns County and in St. Augustine. And also, as we dive into the stats and everything, all I did was look at single family homes so that we can get the most accurate representation of what most people are looking for. Now, of course, we have condos and townhomes throughout all of St. Johns County and the city of St. Augustine, but for this purpose of this video, I just use single family homes. So let's first talk about the perception and the reality of what living in St. Augustine is and what living in St. Johns County is. Now, if you're looking at living in core St. Augustine, what we're talking about here, you're looking for a beach type of lifestyle, looking for a little bit more laid back, coastal vibes, access to the intercoastal, access to the ocean, and quick and easy access to downtown, all the food and dining, restaurants, music that we have, art available, all within the downtown area. This, within the area and the zip codes that I've outlined, is going to be about a 15-minute drive for pretty much anyone in that bubble. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're looking at St. Johns County, you're looking at more of a suburban sprawl. This is going to be where a lot of this area before was pretty much raw, undeveloped land, but now we have developers going in and building left and right all over the northern part of St. Johns County. If you look at International Golf Parkway, you look at State Road 210, which are the main east and west roads within the northern part of St. Johns County, you can look at a time-lapse map over the last 10 years and see that this area has exploded in growth. And that's because you have easy access to Jacksonville, so if you work in Jacksonville, that's great, and you also have easy access to St. Augustine. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds without not being too close to the city of Jacksonville and not being too close to the city of St. Augustine and dealing with the issues that surround tourism and congestion down there. Now, we're speaking in generalities here, but if you're looking in the northern part of the county, you're going to be looking at a master plan community with an HOA and a CDD. It's also going to have some top tier amenities and resort style amenities at that. It's more than likely also going to be a new construction community. Like I said before, the majority of that northern part of the county is starting to get built out, and it's pretty much all new construction, and not just the houses, but the schools, the commercial space, everything is brand new. Then you also have probably, you're looking for maybe a neighborhood that's a little bit more tight-knit where your kids can ride around the bikes, where you can go to the amenity center and hang out. That's going to be more of what you're going to be looking for in terms of the lifestyle in the northern part of the county. And then also, if you're looking for a distance to Jacksonville, if you want to get close to where you have to work and not be in the city of Jacksonville or in Duval County, then the northern part of St. Johns County makes a ton of sense for those people. Now, if you're looking to live closer to St. Augustine, this is closer to where I live. I live a mile from downtown St. Augustine, and that's on purpose because I want the lifestyle, the beach, the small town lifestyle that is afforded here in St. Augustine. I bought a new construction home for $300,000, and I'm a mile from downtown, and that is pretty awesome in my book. The lifestyle is going to be completely different than northern St. Johns County, where that suburban sprawl is. If you're looking for the small town beach lifestyle, then you probably want to be in the St. Augustine bucket. And I mentioned like great schools and all that good stuff in the northern part of the county, but surrounding St. Augustine, we have some really good schools there as well. And actually, the majority of the schools in St. Johns County are rated A, and we're normally #1 or the #2 school district in the entire state. So you throw a rock, you're going to hit a good school. So if that's a concern of you and you still want the beach lifestyle, living around St. Augustine is still a very viable option. So if you're looking to have access to some of the best restaurants in the area, being close to downtown, the historic architecture, walking the waterfront, going to the beaches for sunrise, and going to the intercoastal for sunset, then you probably want to look into the St. Augustine area and the zip codes that we're talking about, 32080, 32084, and 32086. Because in reality, if you're in that bubble, you're going to be about a 10 to 15 minute drive from all of these things that I just mentioned. But of course, one thing to think about, and this is going to lead us to our next point, is that if you are living closer to the water, if you're on the beach, you're on the intercoastal, if you're in a certain area in downtown, you are going to have to worry about flood zones and flooding for your property because that is the reality of living close to the water. So let's now talk about the cost of living in both of these areas. So what I did is, as I said before, is I just took single family homes across both zip codes and I just did a median sale price for both of them. The median sale price in northern St. Johns County is going to be $535,000, with the average sale price being slightly higher, around $609,000 for a single family home in that area. Now, if we take a look at our target area in St. Augustine, we're going to see that it's actually going to be much more affordable to live closer to downtown and the beaches than you think it would be. The median sale price in that area is going to be $421,000. But if you look at the average sale price, that actually pulls it up quite a bit. The average sale price in St. Augustine is going to be $581,000. So not too much different than the average sale price of $609,000 as you see in the northern part of St. Johns County. Now, like I said before, we're speaking in generalities here. So if you're looking in the northern part of the county, more than likely you're going to be in an HOA or a CDD community, which is an additional cost to owning a home in that area. So yeah, the median sale price is $535,000, but you're roughly going to have $200 to $300 of extra fees per month just to live in that neighborhood because of the amenities that are provided. Now, in general, if you're looking at St. Augustine, most of the neighborhoods in the area are going to be non-HOA neighborhoods. So you won't have any massive master planned amenities, but you'll also save about $200 to $300 a month just based on the HOA and CDD alone. But I would say in general, it's probably a pretty good trade-off because in St. Augustine, you're going to have areas that are in flood zones where you're going to be required to have flood insurance. Now, the majority of the homes in the area are not in a flood zone where you're going to have flood insurance, but if I'm splitting hairs, then yeah, it's going to be about $200 to $300 a month just to pay for that. Whereas if you're up in St. Johns County in the northern part, a lot of these master plan communities are all sitting in flood zone X, and they also develop them when they dig out the stormwater retention ponds. They take that fill dirt and they effectively raise the rest of the area out of any type of flood zone if they were even in one to begin with. And guys, if you're looking for more information on the cost of living here in St. Augustine and St. Johns County, I put together another video a couple months ago that outlines everything that you want to know. If you want to check that out, it's right above here. And in this next section, what I want to talk about is some of the common problems that we see, whether it's in the northern part of St. Johns County or it's in the city of St. Augustine, just so you're well aware of it. One of the main things about living in St. Augustine is going to be talking about tourism, and that's a reality of living here in this area. Many of you probably know St. Augustine because you came on vacation here once and you loved it and you're thinking about moving here full time. That's a reality for a lot of people, and tourism is the lifeblood of our town. There's a ton of people that are employed by the hospitality industry here. That's never going to change. So you'll see many of other people's videos, many of my videos, where I bring up some of these issues where we're talking about traffic and congestion and tourism, and some of it may sound really bad, but in reality, if you're living in any metropolitan area, you're going to come here and laugh. Like I have a guy who he bought a home here in St. Augustine in what we would call St. Augustine proper for our specific video here. And he was like, people complain about traffic. I'm from Philadelphia. They have no idea what they're talking about. And that's the truth, right? If you've only lived here in St. Augustine and you've never really experienced what real traffic is, then you're is it worse than what it was 20 years ago? 100%. But is it bad in comparison to the majority of the United States? No, it's fine. But of course, we do also have tourism, right? During peak seasons, during the summer and the holiday season at the end of the year, it does get very, very congested surrounding downtown St. Augustine because we have the feature of downtown being Nights of Lights, which is essentially a month-long event that St. Augustine holds where every single year they string up lights all throughout the historic downtown. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a sight to see. You can definitely go check it out. But when you get kids out of school and then you have New Year's, you have Christmas, you have all the other holidays during that time, that's when people are on vacation and that's when they come to the town. So really, for the last 2 weeks of the year, it can be gridlock traffic in downtown St. Augustine, and it sucks. And that leads me to one of the biggest negatives of living in the northern part of St. Johns County, which is, well, there's two really. One, you're kind of far from downtown St. Augustine and the beaches and all that good stuff, but if you're okay with that, you're okay with that. There's no problem there. But the biggest negative, and I think this will be the biggest negative for years to come, is that because of all the new construction development up there, it is extremely hard to compete with a builder if you ever did need to sell your house, right? So you buy a home, you love it down here, but for whatever reason, your job moves you, you have a family issue, you have to sell your house now. Well, you have to compete with the new construction builder who's offering a 3.99% interest rate. They're offering to pay $20,000 in closing costs, and they're also offering a competitive house price. More than likely, it's going to be priced at market value, just like your house would be. So the only way you could compete as a seller is by reducing the price of your home by about $50,000, because the rate buy down from like a 6.5% to a 3.99% rate is going to cost them about $30,000. They also have about $20,000 in closing costs. So you have to compete in only one way, which is price. And of course, it depends how long you're living in the home, but if you're going to be moving within the next 1 to 5 years in those neighborhoods, it's going to be very tough to compete with that builder who's offering these incentives. And since we're talking about growth, let's talk a little bit more about how growth is going to affect the northern part of St. Johns County and how it's going to affect St. Augustine. Now, for the most part, if we're looking at the northern part of St. Johns County, like I said in the previous parts of this video, that area has built up rapidly over these past couple of years. Really, prior to 2020, it was mostly woods. There were some master plan communities out there, but nothing like we see today, right? It's changed completely. With that has come congestion, has come infrastructure issues, has come issues with schools and overcrowding, which, like I said before, that's one of the things that St. Augustine and St. Johns County hangs its hat on, is how great our schools are, and that's why people want to move here. But that's, in reality, one of the biggest problems of living here is that that area is going to continue to grow, and it's not looking like it's going to stop anytime soon. You have neighborhoods like Rivertown, you have Shearwater, you have Stillwater, you have Silverleaf, you have Trailmark. All of these communities have thousands and thousands of homes in them, and they're not done building yet. Silverleaf is going to have 17,000 homes, 17 to 18,000 homes in it by the time it's completed, and they're roughly about like 3,000 to 4,000 homes right now. So we've got probably another decade of them building homes in that neighborhood and adding more people to that area. On top of that, we also have the First Coast Expressway running right through the heart of the northwestern part of St. Johns County, which is like pretty much the main area we're talking about, right through the heart of Silverleaf. And that's going to be a net benefit for the area, but until it's fully completed, it's just going to be a pain in the ass for anyone living up there. So let's talk about how growth is going to affect the area around St. Augustine. Now, the majority of St. Augustine Beach, Villano Beach, and a lot of the West Augustine area have already been built up pretty extensively. They have homes that are much older than the last 5 years, right? I mean, downtown St. Augustine, you got homes that are dating back to the 1600s, right? So this area has kind of been built up a good bit where we shouldn't see too much of a change in traffic. But if you are looking at the zip code of 32084 and 32086, we could see more development in those pockets. And in reality, take a look at St. Johns County as a whole. We have the development around 210, where all those neighborhoods I just mentioned in the northern part of the St. Johns County, Silverleaf, Rivertown, Shearwater, Stillwater, Beacon Lake, Nocatee, Beach Walk, all these are off of 210. Those have all essentially been built out in the past 5 years or so. Then you have International Golf Parkway. This is where the World Golf Hall of Fame is. You have Markland over there, runs over to Palencia. You also have Parkland Preserve. You have Bannon Lakes. You also have all the neighborhoods that are off of International Golf Parkway, which is going to be mostly World Golf Village, which is a massive development all on its own, but it's much older. That's already essentially starting to get built out. 16, which is the next exit down. State Road 16 goes east and west. We're starting to see development all along State Road 16. 207, which is the next exit south, which this is where we're entering in the 32084 and 32086 zip codes. You've seen development all the way from US 1, 207 to 95. In that pocket, that whole area has been developed essentially. Now we have neighborhoods like Entrada that have just been built out there, but there are also other older neighborhoods that have been established there for a while. So I do think we'll see more growth in those pockets building on infill lots, because that's one of the strategic growth plans of St. Augustine and St. Johns County, is that opposed to building these sprawling master plan communities and approving all of them, they want to encourage builders to build on lots that already have the infrastructure in place. They want to start emptying these vacant lots and putting new construction houses on them. So will we see the same amount of growth and development and changes at the northern part of the county? No. But will we see some changes and more people on the road here? I believe so. And guys, I hate to plug another video for you, but I do think this one is a good one. I put it out the other week. It's my 5 biggest issues that St. Johns County is facing right now. I think I kind of bundle up everything I talked about in terms of like the problems here and just put it into a video so you guys can watch it, just so you know everything that's going on here, at least the big rocks of what's happening here in St. Johns County. So just to put a bow on it and recap, St. Augustine is going to be a different lifestyle. If you're looking for that small town beach lifestyle where you have access to dining, you have access to music, you have access to the arts, you have access to the beaches, all within a 10 to 15 minute drive, that's going to be the area for you. But you need to watch out for higher tax zones and also flood zones, which are going to increase your cost of living in the area. Or you're looking at the northern part of St. Johns County, where you're looking more for a suburban sprawl. You want the master plan community. You want to take your kids to the luxury amenities that they have available there. And you also want to have the schools and everything right at your fingertips. That's going to be more in the northern part of St. Johns County, but that comes with the problem of growing congestion, growing traffic, and just things changing left and right. So if you're serious about making a move to either one of these places, I sell real estate in both of them. St. Johns County is my specialty. It's pretty much the only area I really sell any real estate in. Most people will travel from Jacksonville down to Daytona. It's about a 2-hour drive. I'm not doing that. I stick around St. Johns County because it's what I know and it's the information I can give to you guys. If you are serious about buying, selling, or investing here in the area, make sure you reach out to me. I have a Calendly link below, or you can reach out to me through my cell phone number or email. Until next time, guys, have a good one.